the key to parish effectiveness, are the 3 H's: hospitality, hymns and homilies, where you have a sense of welcome, where the music is good, and where the homilies, at least are reasonable, people come.
Very Rev Dr David Ranson, Diocesan Administrator for the Diocese of Broken Bay and Parish Priest for Chatswood. Welcome to our first edition of Around the Bay podcast.
Thank you very much, Katrina. It's great to be here with you.
So on the 26th of June, you were elected Diocesan Administrator by the Diocese College of Consultors after Archbishop Anthony Randazzo left for Rome, and you'll remain in that position until Pope Leo XV appoints a new bishop for Broken Bay. But you've had this role previously, so
yes,
you could say you've done this before.
Really, that it's the second time around that I've found myself in this service of responsibility. The first time was after the departure of then Archbishop Peter, who became Archbishop of Melbourne. So he was appointed Archbishop of Melbourne in June, at the end of June 2018, and I was elected then by the consultors to the service of Diocesan Administrator, and I exercised that service until Archbishop Anthony, then Bishop Anthony, was appointed as the 4th Bishop of Broken Bay. So that was a 15-month segment. And so we have followed now the same process on the departure of Archbishop Anthony. And I now, yes, as you say, exercise this responsibility until such time as Pope Leo appoints the 5th Bishop of Broken Bay. We don't know just when that will occur. It's always an involved process. And it's not altogether clear how it all unfolds. But hopefully, we won't be too long, but we could be looking at a 12-month period for sure.
Let's look at exactly what a diocesan administrator then can and cannot do.
Yes, well, this is a very good question because there are limits to the governance of a diocesan administrator. A diocesan administrator stands in the place of the bishop until a bishop is appointed, and he exercises the full governance of the bishop. And so, as a result, he's a member of the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference and votes in that forum as a full member. But of course, a diocesan administrator doesn't have the sacramental authority of a bishop, and therefore he can't exercise the sacramental practice of a bishop. But importantly, during a time of administration, the administrator cannot act in a way that might prejudice the rights and the freedom of a new bishop. And so it's not for an administrator to innovate, is the term that is used. And so it's not a time for strategic innovation. We wait until a bishop is appointed who has that capacity. But at the same time, a diocesan administrator can maintain the functionality of the life of the local church and, of course, make decisions that continue to sustain and promote the life of the local church. It really is an art of interpretation as to know just what might be operational in character and what might be innovative in character. So clearly there are things that a diocesan administrator can decide that may not have been decided before, but it's more around operational, the operational side of things rather than the strategic future. So as I say, it's always something of an art of interpretation to know what might be operational and therefore capable, and what might be more innovative and therefore what needs to wait until a new bishop is appointed.
Well, let's hear a little bit more about our diocesan administrator's background.
I'm very conscious of being Tasmanian. I'm 6th generation Tasmanian on both sides of my family, so we are very much a colonial family and registered as a colonial family. and my family having been on the island for so long, since the 1830s, I'm very conscious of being Tasmanian. But my immediate family have now moved away from Tasmania, and so though I only have cousins remaining there in Tasmania now. But Tasmania really formed me, and it really provided me with the basis. I was very influenced growing up by the late Archbishop Guildford Young. He was a very significant influence on me, and the priests of the diocese were very influential. And I would say my vocation as a priest really comes from the example and influence of those priests that were particularly friends of our family. And they were very, very good men, and they opened the possibility of this vocation to me. At the time that I was growing up, you could actually graduate with your HSC in Year 11 in the Tasmanian system, which I did. And then in what would have been my Year 12, I went to the United States on an American Field Service scholarship. And so I was at a high school in the United States from 1976 and 7, and graduated from an American high school. And when I left for the United States, I'd really, I suppose, left Tasmania. I came back to Tasmania for 6 or so months and worked before then joining the seminary for the Archdiocese of Hobart. And the seminary for the Archdiocese of Hobart is located in Melbourne. So I joined the seminary in Melbourne, but for the Archdiocese of Hobart, and was there for 2 years. But during that time, I'd become very influenced by a number of authors, particularly Jean Vanier at the time, and though Jean Vanier had an unfortunate history afterwards, he had a profound influence on me spiritually. I was fortunate enough to undertake a retreat with him in 1978, and that very much was very influential. But I was also reading Dorothy Day and Catherine Doherty and Thomas Merton at the time. And perchance I went to the Cistercian community at Tarrawarra Abbey in 1979, just for a few days with a friend. But that visit completely exploded my imagination, and I realised that in fact so many of the things that had become important for me were actually being lived out in that community. And so I made the discernment to move from the seminary, and I joined the monastic community at Tarrawarra in early 1980.
This was the order of Cistercians of the strict observance.
Of the strict observance, yes, commonly known as the Trappists. There's Trappists, but their technical name is the Order of Cistercians of the Strict Observance. So I was a member then of the community for many years afterwards. I made my solemn profession in 1986, and I was ordained there in 1992. I had a variety of roles in the monastic community. My first responsibility was to manage our rose garden.
Oh, right.
So I learned how to grow roses. And then from there, I had the responsibility of being the community's infirmarian, which is a very significant role given that we had older men and men who were quite sick and who died. And so I had the great privilege of nursing them through their illness and through their death. There were several of them. But then we had a change in focus, and yes, I was manager of our dairy farm for some 12 years there.
Had you ever done anything like that before?
Well, I had actually, yes. It wasn't completely new because as a boy growing up in Tasmania, my cousins had farms.
Right.
And so I'd often spend my holidays on a farm.
Right.
So farming wasn't foreign. And in fact, it's in the blood in my family. So my family are farmers.
Right.
Not my mother and father, but my other generations were all farmers. And so it wasn't unusual, but it was good work. My first qualification was actually in farm management, and strangely enough, in artificial insemination. So some years after my ordination in 1992, I was increasingly being called by the church to facilitate its mission in different ways. And I really then had to come to the discernment, do I stay within the monastic community or do I follow what seemed to be an emerging invitation? And so I did make the discernment for a more active ministry in 97 and then entered into a period of leave from the monastic community. It was a period of discernment. So I came into the Archdiocese of Melbourne as a priest and was appointed chaplain at St Vincent's Hospital in Melbourne. And that was an extraordinary experience. It linked with the nursing that I had done in the monastery and the care that I'd given there. So even though it might have seemed a very dramatic change from a monastic life to the life of a hospital chaplain, it was, in fact, a natural progression. And I had 2.5 years there at the hospital.
Right.
So this is a big inner city hospital, of course, in Melbourne, and it also had a hospice attached. Caritas Hospice was attached to the hospital, as well as the prison hospital. St Vincent's had the contract there for the hospital,
yes,
for the Victorian prison service. So all of that gave me extraordinary
certainly active ministry.
Yes, it was very active ministry and extraordinary experiences. So whilst I was there, though, it was a period of discernment for me, and I trusted that something might emerge in respect to the future. And whilst I was there, I was invited to join the faculty of the Catholic Institute of Sydney. Mm. So that's why I came to Sydney in 2001 and then served at the faculty for the next 15 years. So I came to Sydney, still a member of the monastic community on loan, but there is a time frame that one is given for such discernment. And so the time came to make a discernment as to whether to return to the monastic community or to continue an active ministry. And the discernment was towards the other, towards the latter. And then, of course, one needs to be incarnated. And so, again, an invitation came from then Bishop Walker to consider the Diocese of Broken Bay as a diocese to incarnate. Mm. So I took his invitation very seriously and as a sign of grace, and so I incarnated into the Diocese of Broken Bay, whilst nonetheless remaining on the faculty of the Catholic Institute. So I was at the Catholic Institute from 2001 to 2015, but by 2015, Bishop Comensoli had become the third Bishop of Broken Bay. And in May of 2015, he appointed me as his Vicar General. And so on that appointment, I resigned from the Institute and have been Vicar General in one form or another. Well, writing is a curious, act of creativity. It's not really it's very hard to measure time because one has thoughts that might be in the background and slowly gaining form. The actual writing may not take a great deal of time at all, but it's the thinking and the pondering that takes time. But that takes place in the midst of everything else. And so even as one is, driving or walking or whatever, you can have those thoughts there germinating in the background. And they begin over time, but difficult to quantify. They begin to take form, and then one, commits to the actual writing. I'm a person who has to write in order to think. I can't think without writing, in the sense of, and I mean by that it is in the physical act of writing that my thinking comes through
the paper.
And even though I've had thoughts and as it were directions in thinking, the physical act of writing actually furthers that thought and gives that thought form, so that I finish an act of physical writing with something that I may not have quite fully thought through before. So the physical act of writing, in the sense of typing, is for me an intrinsic part of the creative process.
Is it relaxing?
Yes. In fact, I enjoy nothing better than to be able to sit down with space and time and to think and to reflect. So for me, the reflecting, the thinking, the pondering brings me home to myself, and I find it quite a prayerful act. Joseph Campbell, who was a famous anthropologist, was once asked, how do you pray? And he said, I underline, which means that he prayed or meditated through his reading and through underlining what was significant in his reading. I would have to say I think I pray through my writing. So it brings me home to myself and puts me before God, and so it's both relaxing but also intrinsic to who I am.
You mentioned a couple of theologians and philosophers. Do you have any particular theologians or philosophers who you go back to fairly regularly to read their works? Yes,
well, there's a whole range of people who have had influence, on my thinking. More recently, David Tracy from the University of Chicago. I did my master's research degree on him. He was a philosopher of religion. He's now deceased. But he very much had... he was writing very extensively in the 80s and 90s, and central to his understanding was the importance of conversation as a method of theology. And so my master's research degree was on the topic of conversation as understood by him. And he actually then also provided the catalyst for my doctoral research, which was on the interrelationship between the mystical and the political. And that dialectic I first came across in the writings of David Tracy. But I took that dialectic in my doctoral research and expanded it to seek to provide a typology for understanding the new ecclesial movements today. So, and there were many writers that were involved there.
Did that also look at Lonergan's work as well?
Yes, I did started my philosophy with Lonergan. So Lonergan was very instrumental to David Tracy, and Lonergan has been very informative for me but I wouldn't class myself as a Lonagonian. Nonetheless, his epistemology has been one of the most powerful influences on my thinking. Mm-hmm. But one of my regrets, I suppose, is that I don't quite get the chance to read now as I used to. But thankfully, my years in the monastery did give me great opportunity to read. Mm-hmm. And there really is no substitute to reading. Not only reading theology, but also reading literature. And we had members of the community at the monastery who were great readers of literature. And that too was very influential for me. Mm. And so it was really through those years that I was introduced to the great Australian novelists and authors, and they have had a significant influence on me as well.
Any in particular?
Patrick White, David Malouf.
Are we receptive still to the message of the Gospels?
I think we are, but not necessarily in a direct kind of way, in the sense that people, I think, have looked for meaning in many different ways in more recent times, outside the Christian tradition, certainly, and maybe even outside the religious tradition more generally. And yet there seems to be a frustration and a lack of fulfillment through that. And so I think we do see today a greater receptivity to the religious imagination than we may have in the past, in the more recent past. Mm. So I think we are at a very interesting time in respect to society generally. So much has been promised to us by the technological framework, but which has been really the dominant paradigm over the last 30 or 40 years. But I think people have recognised that that can't satisfy, and that there still is this deep longing, this deep hunger for something, someone more. And it's surprising how many people present, even in the parish, because they are looking for something. And they're not finding themselves satisfied by where they have searched in the past. And so they are looking for something new. So I do think that it is a time capable of real evangelization. And this is something that's growing that may not have been there even 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
People have suspicions about the church, and how do we deal with that?
I certainly think that people of my generation, and perhaps 2 generations following me, have been greatly hurt by the church. There's no doubt about that, and a distrust has certainly emerged and may well continue within people's hearts, and that distrust is completely understandable. We as a church have failed. We failed children, and we failed in a number of ways. And we now live with the scar and the wound of that abuse and the damage that it's caused. And there is no way other than to acknowledge that its presence and its effects. And so we are a community who carries a very real wound. And the only way by which we can live is into the future is by fully acknowledging the wound and not pretending that it's not there or that it's something else. John of the Cross, many centuries ago, said, that the object is not to get rid of a wound, but to keep it clean. And so our responsibility, I think, is not to pretend that we don't have a wound or that we move beyond it in the way that it does no longer affect us, but to fully acknowledge it, admit it, and to learn how to live with it in a way that now people are more protected and safe. So this is, I've been very influenced in this, in my own thinking in this, by a work by a sociologist of sickness, funnily enough, Arthur Frank, who some years wrote a book called The Wounded Storyteller. And Frank's position was, he was really talking about people with cancer, he wasn't talking about sexual abuse. But I think it has great implications for us as a church, and that was, his thesis was that people respond to woundedness and illness, serious illness, in various ways, including denial or positive thinking, but neither of them are sufficient. It's really his way forward is for people to share the experience of having illness. And it's when we experience when we share our experience of illness with others, then we experience a solidarity with one another, and it's solidarity with others that enables us with hope. And I think that's true for us as a church as well. We have to never resile from admitting and, in fact, sharing the story that we are wounded as a community. But by doing so, we experience solidarity with those who have been wounded, and it's in that solidarity that that a new sense of hope begins to emerge. Now that, I think, is true very much of my own generation and the generations that follow, but there is another generation, a new generation emerging, and these are people in their late teens and early 20s, who have not had that experience of a wounded church, and for whom the history of abuse is not well known, and a history that does not seem to be an obstacle to them. And so this is quite fascinating, that whereas this history of woundedness has clearly and understandably been an obstacle and a means of distrust for a number of generations, up to mine, it does not seem to be so for newer generations. And so I think for them, then we have a wonderful opportunity to come to them freshly. But at the same time, as I say, it's important that when we welcome newcomers into our church, that we're very open and honest about who we are, and that, in fact, we are an ambiguous reality. We are both holy and flawed at the same time, and so we don't pretend otherwise. But for younger people today, as I say, Katrina, it doesn't seem to be such an obstacle. So this is an interesting moment. I think we have moved in time to a point where this now is not as not presenting in quite the same way as it had before.
Well, of course, with the younger generations, we've got some really big issues to be looking at with them and for them. Social media and of course, artificial intelligence, two areas of constant discussion in the home, in the media, in the church, organisations, parliamentarians. Does it make the habit of critical thinking then even more important?
For sure. And this is what I really try to convey to students who are graduating. I often am invited to celebrate a graduation mass, and therefore I see this as a wonderful opportunity to say, as it were, a final word to the students who are leaving the school. But one of the things I do try to bring home is the need to question, that we must never abandon our capacity to the ability to question. and that if we leave our school with the capability and the skill to question, we will be able to navigate the future far better, of course, than if we couldn't. So I think secondary education in particular has to be so positioned as to leave its students with critical faculty. I think tertiary education, especially undergraduate education, is really about learning the skill of reading. I often used to say to my students at the end of their undergraduate degree, you probably remember nothing of what you've learnt over the last 3 years, and partly that's because of the very high degree of compartmentalisation of knowledge that tertiary education has. But if you've learnt to read, then you're set for life. If your undergraduate degree has taught you how to read, truly read, then your education will truly begin after your graduation. And so our reading becomes productive only if we enter into our reading with a question. So the advice is never read without a question. And so I think, our secondary education has to teach us how to question, and our tertiary education has to teach us how to read. And this is the difficulty, the challenge that we have with both social media and artificial intelligence, that capacity to question may well be under significant challenge. So how to enter into those platforms and into technology with a critical faculty is going to be absolutely essential for the future. But social media is problematic, and we know it is problematic because the research demonstrates that the levels of anxiety, particularly amongst adolescents, has increased dramatically since its introduction and since its use. And so this has placed great challenges on mental health. And ultimately, the confusion between fact and fiction, between truth and falsehood, between reality and the virtual. And so this is going to be a real space into which we as a church will need to speak very in a very sustained kind of way. Guardrails are clearly needed, and government is moving, as we know, in that direction. But guardrails will only go so far. I think it's going to be far more important for us to create spaces and opportunities quite outside of social media. So how do we continue to create spaces, especially for young people, where social media doesn't have any entree at all? In order to help people recognise that that sense of reward and that sense of fulfilment can come in other ways, and so that's why it's incumbent for us. Yes, not only to think of guardrails, but most importantly, I think even more than that, to create alternative spaces. Now, what those alternative spaces might look like, how they might be formed, I'm not entirely sure, of course, but I think the alternative space and the development of alternative spaces is going to be really essential, and that's where we really, as a church, have got to really give some serious thought. And it really then becomes an act of evangelisation on our part, because what we're trying to do is, as Pope Leo has in his recent encyclical, is to remind ourselves and others of who we truly are as persons. And that can't be delivered through technology. That can only be delivered through the quality of relationships that we have with one another. and through all that goes into the genuine experience of encounter. And so to maintain, to think creatively of developing those spaces and opportunities of genuine encounter at the service of developing genuine relationships, I think is going to be an essential act of evangelisation.
Are we losing the art of conversation?
Yes, we are, and that's really was why I'm so grateful for the opportunity of having done my master's research degree on this very topic of conversation, because it's clear that our capacity to stop and genuinely encounter another is at risk. Conversation emerges, through encounter. We can't, enter into a life-giving conversation without first encountering another. And but those opportunities to encounter another are becoming less. And this is, even down to now the pervasive use of QR codes in restaurants and the self-checkout. We no longer technology has taken us away from those opportunities to meet one another. I'm always heartened when I go into a shop or and the person behind the counter is friendly. Always come out, feeling something good has occurred, and that it's an anonymous kind of interaction, but the human encounter has something special about it and irreplaceable, and technology is taking that away from us, so. Because we don't need to interact in order to do what we need to do. So again, this is where, and I think this is where our parish communities have a real mission, because they can be places of encounter, of genuine encounter between people. And it's that depth of encounter for which people are genuinely looking now.
You've really shown that in Chatswood, haven't you, with your parish in council?
True.
The value of involving a community in obviously decision making and conversation and where you want to be. Mm-hmm. How has it worked for you, parish in council?
Yes, well, this was something quite new. It developed around the same time as Pope Francis called the Synod on synodality, but it was actually, it predated that call. We were very excited when Pope Francis did make that call to a synod on a synodality, because it really underscored and affirmed, validated what we had already begun at Chatswood. We were very conscious when I first was appointed to Chatswood in 2021. I became very aware very quickly that Chatswood had a uniqueness about it, in that it was our only urban parish. It's a city parish and a very multicultural parish. And so the question emerged for me is, what does it mean to be a church in the city? And such a multicultural community in the heart of a city. And that developed then into the formulation of our parish mission, bringing the light of Christ to the city. In all of that, I was very much helped by the leadership of many in the parish itself, and particularly by three members in our community who shared the vision, but also had extraordinary competency and generosity of spirit and of time. And so we were wondering together how we might realise this mission that we had formulated through a process of very significant consultation in the community. And I, funnily enough, alighted upon the term parish in council on Twitter. It was on what was then Twitter. But it struck me and it stayed with me. And I went to our team and I said, what would this look like? What would being a parish in council look like for us at Chatswood? I was also very influenced there by the Rule of St. Benedict and the 4th chapter of the Rule, which has the abbot summoning the whole community together before making a decision and listening to everybody before making a decision. And so I thought we thought, how do we make this very ancient framework of discernment something that's real for ourselves in Chatswood? So that's how parish and council developed. We didn't know where we were really going with it, and we've learnt as we've gone. We were very clear from the outset what it was and what it wasn't. We were very clear that it wasn't a town hall meeting, that it wasn't a forum for people simply to get up and to and say whatever they wanted, so to speak, and I was also influenced at the time by the methodology of table talk that Sydney Alliance had developed. And so we brought all of that together to create these forums where people could come together, enjoy the fellowship with one another, pray together, listen together, and discern together. And because that methodology of table talk developed then in time to what we now know in the church as conversation in the Spirit, it enables every voice to be heard without any voice dominating. And so this then creates a safe place where everyone can come, everyone can express themselves in a safe way, and through the mutual listening, we can discern where and how the Spirit might be leading us as a whole community. We've had now, we're about to enter into our 11th session of Parish and Council. So we have now experienced this, and over some time now. And what amazes me is that it's not losing interest. The last one that we had was the largest that we've had. And so over the last 3 or so years that we've been facilitating these, the interest has only grown, not subsided. So people haven't got sick of them or tired of them or thought, I've done that, don't need to do it again. We get, and it's quite fascinating that each time we gather as a parish in council, about a third have been to a number, a third have been to at least 2 or 3, and for a third it's their first time. Mm-hmm. So that means that over the 3.5 years, if we've had 120 people last time we had 150 people coming together, overall we've had a number of hundreds of people experience.
And other parishes are looking at this now too.
Yeah, so because we have such an extraordinary team that animates all of this, they have made themselves available to be a resource to other communities, and they are now assisting other communities to introduce something similar. And so we would have about 6 parishes across Sydney and elsewhere who have come to our sessions as observers, but now are implementing their own.
Mm-hmm. Just wanted to cover a couple of other areas as well about Catholic identity in Australia. How has that shifted?
It's certainly changing. And someone like Greg Sheridan has picked this up, really, in terms of the way in which he understands how Catholic identity has been experienced, in different generations. and over the decades. And so identity now is certainly different than what it may have been expressed in the past, when it was primarily cultural. And so Catholic identity was a culture, really, in which one was either born and raised or entered into, later in life. Now it isn't. It has not the same dimensions of a cultural identity, and I think now it's becoming something that is more expressed intentionally as a way of Christian discipleship. And so people now are affiliating more intentionally. They don't have to affiliate, but they decide to do so. And in so doing, they have a much greater awareness, I think, of their life of discipleship. And so they then seek to live out that discipleship in the context of their lives, but find particularly in Australia, parish communities as the place where that discipleship is sustained and nourished. And that would be our hope, I think, for parish communities, that they are places where people's discipleship is nurtured. And so identity has shifted from being something that is predominantly cultural to something that is more personal, but not private. And so our discipleship can never be something that is private. It needs the context of community in order to be able to be grounded and to grow. But I think it has a personal character to it in a way that it may not have in the past. The research has always shown that the key to parish effectiveness, are the 3 H's: hospitality, hymns, and homilies, where you have a sense of welcome, and we've spent a lot of energy in developing that spirit of welcome, where the music is good, and where the homilies, at least are reasonable, people come. This is, people, and as we were saying before there, Katrina, people are looking. This is the new reality that we have, that there is clearly a new level of search, a new quality of search. Now, if there is a new search taking place, particularly amongst younger people, where they do encounter a community that provides those 3 H's, so that they have both a sense of belonging and a sense of the possibility of meaning, I do think this represents an enormous opportunity for us. Yeah. And I don't look into the future with any sense of despair at all. I look into the future with an enormous sense of possibility, but it will take work. It does take us to invest in those 3 H's, but the rest is the work of the Spirit.
Tell me, do you have any personal goals right at the moment?
No, my goal at the moment is to serve the diocese as well as I can during this time. That's really my primary aspiration. I've led a very, I've had a wonderful life. It's been a very creative life and one full of extraordinary, rich experience. I don't have any, future ambitions in that sense. I would like to write my memoirs at some stage, and I do see that as a project I'd like to do when I retire, because my life has taken me through so many aspects of the life of the Church in Australia, that it would be wonderful to be able to bring those experiences into reflection and to make those available through the publication of my memoirs. So that's a goal that I have on retirement, which is not for a few years.
I hope not.
But no, in the meantime, it's to ensure that our diocese, our local church, remains as vibrant as it is during this time of transition, and then, of course, to be of service to the new bishop, whenever he is appointed.
What's your favourite Old Testament book?
Oh, it would have to be the Song of Songs.
Why is that?
Because of the great poetry that it expresses and the way that it articulates that deepest desire that we have within ourselves for God.
New Testament?
I don't know whether I'd have a favourite there, to be honest. Each gospel is distinctive and has its own richness. Perhaps the Gospel of Luke is the one that speaks most immediately to me because it really speaks of the kingdom of God as something that is present now, if we have but the eyes and the ears to see and to hear. But I wouldn't want to
isolate
one from the other.
What about, is there a particular saint that you keep going back to reading about, or
the saint that has, funnily enough, most, there are many, but one that has most attraction to me, funnily enough, is Barnabas, right at the very outset of the Christian community. So Barnabas literally means son of encouragement. I once gave a talk on Barnabas in Vietnam, and many years later discovered that the students were quite amused because they couldn't quite work out why I was talking about bananas.
You, of course, explained.
But Barnabas, so Barnabas is this son of encouragement. And he is the one who... despite the extraordinary fear that must have been in him and the risk, could see in Saul the possibility of Paul, and who could then bring Paul, to the apostles in Jerusalem. Extraordinary phenomenon, really, when you think about it, how that must have played out. But he was a person who had this capacity to see, in the midst of even great risk and fear, what might be possible, and to see how the Spirit of God was at work. And we really only have Paul because of Barnabas. And it was Barnabas also then who recognised the potential in Mark, even though Paul had a great falling out with him over that. And so Barnabas, for me, is a great model, I suppose, of what I would hope for myself, that I would be a person of encouragement. I really like the word encouragement. It means to draw out the heart of the other, to encourage, to draw out the heart of the other. And I think that is a wonderful vocation, to be able to hear the heart of another, to identify the heart of the other, and to be able to draw it out to be itself. And so that's why Barnabas is, for me, a great example of that, and why he's one of my favourite.
Well, finally, I think this is a favourite too. Totally different end of the spectrum, of course, Michael Leunig. Now, you have often spoken of Michael Leunig, the cartoonist. He's also an author and poet, etc. What do you like about Michael Leunig?
The sacramentality of the ordinary. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to know Michael personally, and we would have lunch together on a regular basis. And when I was living in Melbourne. And we would have long conversations about the life of the Spirit. But I have always been deeply attracted to his work because of that aspect, that it's in the ordinariness of life that we find God. And so, the way in which his art depicts that and his writings depict that. But also I think it's about finding God in the ordinariness of life, but also in the darkness of life. And so Lünig was never one to shy away from that reality of woundedness that is part of all of our experience. And yet he saw that woundedness as a doorway into truth. So that comes through very strongly. And it was a great delight to be able to invite Michael here to our diocese many years ago now, and to enter into a public conversation with him. But from memory, those two were the themes that we focused on in that encounter.
Well, look, thank you very much for your time today
Thank you, Katrina.
and
It's
joining
been a
us for
pleasure.
this podcast. It's been wonderful to catch up.
Lovely. Thank you so much.